So I am going to kind of get us started. Like I said, that lead into talking about those teachers. UTEP was really founded on the assumption that high quality education is a critical lever to achieve social justice. These are kind of guided by principles that our program lives by. I would say the first is the understanding that teaching is an intellectually challenging job. There's some schools of thought that thinks anybody, can teach. And definitely at UTEP, we understand and value the challenge of really learning about how to teach students. We have a program that's clinically based, meaning that you're learning to teach while teaching, but also that is very much theoretically supported by research around how kids learn and the best approaches to teaching students. We definitely believe that we rely on evidence to inform our instruction. We value teachers that understand the content that they're teaching very deeply, that there's depth of understanding, and that it's rooted in best practice around how things are taught to students. All of this for us, teaching, for our program really talks about the context of teaching. So it's really thinking about our program is, teaching you how to teach students, but really specifically, how do you teach urban students in Chicago, and what differences and what's unique about students in this environment that's important for teachers to know and understand. There's definitely a focus on professional community among our graduates, and understanding that in some senses, people think that teaching is a very individual job because teachers kind of run their classrooms. But we really focus on the power in collaboration and understand that teachers learn more together. We see teaching as the primary vehicle for social justice and educational equity, and really have this emphasis on the whole child, emphasizing that race, class, culture, gender, all of this matters in understanding ourselves and understanding our students in order to really serve them well. As I go through, and we are going to, share a lot of information about our program. And if you have questions, you can kind of put them in the chat. I'll save some time at the end to answer specific questions. And so those are a little bit of the principles that guide us. What research shows us that's really not surprising is that students who have excellent teachers are more successful. They're more likely to go to college. They're more likely to earn higher salaries. They have a stronger sense of self-efficacy, and they're more willing to take on new challenges. So we definitely understand the power of the teacher in determining kind of what goes on in students' lives. Currently, about half of CPS teachers leave within their first 5 years. And unfortunately, schools that are hit hardest by this are students that are schools that serve predominantly low-income African-American students. And so another thing that's different about our program is in that we're very proud of, is that about 90% of our graduates after 5 years still remain teaching, when compared kind of 50% with that national average. We're also proud because a lot of our graduates not only continue to teach, but also move on to leadership positions in CPS or other schools. We have about 20% of our graduates kind of have moved into leadership positions, and 100% is our hire rate. So our graduates definitely find jobs after our program, whether or not that's in Chicago or other places as well. Our program provides an elementary license for teachers, as well as a middle grades subject area certification, where you get your initial teaching certificate along with the Master's of Arts in Teaching at UFC. Okay. So I'll start here to kind of get a little more specific around the experience Our program is kind of broken into 3 phases, where there's the year 1 phase, the year 2 phase, and then there's the postgraduate support. In year 1, we call it the foundations year, and it's really when a lot of those foundations are set. There's the academic coursework. It's where you take kind of like the reading methods, math methods. There's also a fieldwork component during the first year where you are tutoring in schools and kind of a home-based experience in schools. And then there's also a soul strand, which is our foundation seminar. And Kay's going to talk a little bit more about the foundation seminar.
Good morning, everyone. So the foundation seminar is a course that was created over time that really incorporates academic, fieldwork, and soul strand together. The academic coursework is going to be a lot of historical, sociology of the city, contextualizing time and space in relationship to the people that live in that time and space. And so the importance of thinking about context-specific education is that there is a particular environment that children are growing up in that we need to understand that impacts their child development. And so it's an opportune time. Sorry, hold on one second.
Are you back? Okay.
I'm back. Sorry about that. This is the part of Zoom that I can't control. Anyhow, getting back to the foundations here, I apologize. The context-specific education and thinking about where we are, who the children are that are developing in that space, and not only that, but how it is that the city has impacted the lives of families. And so when we're looking at your foundations year, and for some of you who may not be from Chicago, that's really a time for you to think about, why do neighborhoods look the way that they do? Why is it that there's so much segregation still in the city, and really dispelling common narratives and sort of the social imagination of who it is that lives in these communities. Oftentimes you'll hear about violence in the city of Chicago, which is real, yet what is that violence rooted in? How do we begin to see complexly what these neighborhoods are, how they've gotten to be that way, and really to sort of unpack maybe the biases that we may be coming with into those communities that we're then placing on children. The purpose of doing that is to really think about, especially looking at this time and space that we're in our chronos system of the world, looking at obviously the Black Lives Matter movement, but also thinking about how this is embedded in historical racism of white supremacy, systemic racism, and thinking about how all of this still makes a lot of sense today, and how schools are a really big part of perpetuating those ideologies still today. And we really want to think about who it is that we are in coming into those spaces, what it is that we think we're bringing into communities, what it is that we're offering. Because even if we are well-intentioned of thinking that we are going to take the kid to the next level, are we already placing a barrier to their learning, to their growth, to who they could be based on some of these hidden biases? So the context-specific work of Foundations Year is really thinking about how we understand how segregation came to be in the city, what are the economic policies that are driving urban development. There's an urban planning component to this. There's a lot of history of Chicago embedded in this. And when we start to think about child development, we really turn the sort of mirror onto ourselves simultaneously in thinking about how it is that we became the people that we are today, that are going to be impacting the kids that we are going to be coming in contact with in the future. And unpacking that for ourselves is really important, because that's sort of a process of unlearning that we also want to have in terms of a muscle that's being built over time for us, is that as the lead learner in classrooms, you are there to model that learning is a process that is ongoing. But not only that, that we have the humility to say that we don't know everything, that we are continuing to push ourselves, continuing to grow, continuing to get to our next level of growth, so that we can show children that there is no standardized benchmark, as some of you may have experienced in your own schooling, that these tests don't necessarily measure your intelligence. They are a particular way of measuring something, but that's not all encompassing of the full development of one's mind. As some of you have talked about, those teachers that were influential to you, that helped you analyze, that helped you see the world, that let you unlock that piece of your brain that took you to your next level. Those are the things that we really want to start like getting into in terms of how it is that we see the world, how it is that we understand ourselves, and who are we in this larger system. And so the end of Foundation's year-end seminar, once you have all of these experiences in classrooms, learning methods, is really getting you to have a foundation of, you know, who are you in coming into the classroom? What are you bringing? What do you believe about children? And really, you know, hopefully at the end, really seeing the immense potential and great responsibility that we have in the lives of children. We prepare them for the future. We prepare them to inherit the earth. And that's not a responsibility that we take lightly. So I'll kind of leave it there. We'll open up for questions later on if anybody has any. But I would like to turn it over to some of our UTEPers, past and present, maybe to talk about some of your experience with SoulStrand or learning about communities. If any of you want to jump in.
Yeah, I can start us off because we just finished our foundations year. So I worked in a group that had the privilege to work with the anti-eviction campaign and think really critically about the relationship between housing and schooling. And I think kind of entering the program, you know, we know that schooling and educational equality doesn't exist in a vacuum, but I think through these community projects and through working with community organizations, you're able to experience neighborhoods in Chicago, to engage with individuals, to really listen and come from a place of humility, but to see these relationships and to see how schooling is a really kind of multifaceted problem. So kind of through our work with the anti-eviction campaign, I went to city council meetings, which I had never done before. We engaged in a lot of conversations, and then also kind of created this final kind of 10-page report about the incredible work that the anti-eviction campaign does. And I think as a student and as a teacher, it's just a reminder that, you know, we're not just limited to our classroom, but understanding communities, investing in communities, building relationships is really critical to the work that we do and kind of the moral responsibility that we carry.
Thanks, Sophia.
I'll go next. So Foundations year and SoulStrand was extremely formative for me, especially thinking about the human development course that we took, where, like Dr. K was mentioning, we really unpacked our own belief systems, the ways that we grew up, our own ideologies, our own positionality, and recognizing how that can then impact our students. And for me, it was a lot of unpacking and recognizing my own anti-Blackness that I had developed through growing up, just hatred of myself, hatred of my own Blackness. I grew up in a predominantly white community and just hated being different. And so did whatever I could, you know, straighten my hair, didn't wear large earrings, kept out of the sun to really try and silence that part of me. And so I felt like I had done some digging into that in some ways during my undergrad experience, but I'd never done it in a way that really unpacked the historical context to what I had developed, and thought about it in a way of recognizing how that could then impact my students and the people and those that I'm then going to influence. And so that was huge for me, and extremely important just in my own general development, but then also especially in my development as a teacher.
Thank you, Michelle. And it's not an easy process. Foundation year is not, Foundation seminar is not a very easy year, but it's a good year.
Yeah. It is a good year. I think I'll go next. So not to frighten anyone away or anything like that, but I think that one of the most important assets that you'll carry into the classroom with you is your ability to be vulnerable and to humanize your students. And you first have to humanize yourself. And I think as you're sort of traversing through Soul Strand, you're going to be required to dig a little deeper into who you are as a person. And you're going to have to explore how schooling has sort of formulated who you are and your worldview. And that is a very, very painful process because it's going to require you to ask and answer questions that maybe you probably would have avoided under different circumstances. I know for me, it was a great opportunity for me to explore just my trauma as a Black male growing up in the public school sector. And all the things that we're reading about in terms of sort of like how schools are stratified, who schools choose to demonize, how neighborhoods are formulated, even through federal housing authorities and Fannie Mae and so forth. I got to explore who I was in that context. And honestly, to say it was a very painful process. Not to say that I had never explored it, but I had to go a little deeper because I've discovered, just as I'm entering into my third year of teaching, that students really don't care about what you know in terms of content. They really want to get to know you as a human being. And once you're willing to be vulnerable and honest about your positionality as you're coming in to that space, the more you're going to foster a sense of trust and a sense of humanization among all of your students. Otherwise, they're not really going to care about what you have to say if they don't really know who you are. And so Soul Strand allows you to exercise, as Kay says, exercise that muscle. And being vulnerable, you got to be vulnerable. You're bringing all of who you are into the classroom. And whether you want to express who you are or not, like, you're there, you're in the room. And so it's best that you just learn how to be fully human and be fully present in that space. And Soul Strand allows you the opportunity to exercise that ability.
Thank you all. You know, I'm just listening to you. I'm always so proud of our UTEPers, but I'm also just, I just want to say, you know, that getting through this program, getting through Foundations Year is, you know, that does set your foundation for how it is that you understand yourself before going into the classroom, your foundationship for building relationships, that opportunity for you to be vulnerable, to, you know, to kind of to be able to take care of yourself in some ways in that first year of understanding of who you are, how it is that school has impacted you, how it is that you understand the world. You know, all of those things come into the classroom with you. And so those are all really important key components to building relationships with kids, because you'll find that kids are geniuses at wanting to, and if you aren't honest with yourself, they will push every button in order to get that bit of authenticity out of you. And so there is you know, there is a lot of trust that, you know, needs to be built in order for, you know, kids to have good relationships with us. And it's valid, and it's absolutely necessary. And the UTEPers that you just heard from are, you know, we're so proud of them. They're, you know, in terms of their process, their growth, you know, it's extraordinary to be able to put yourself under the microscope, to be able to feel things that are not easy to feel. To recognize some things that are difficult, and to be able to hold yourself in that moment, to love yourself. And in that process, what you're doing is you're learning how to love the other too. But at first, you really need to be honest about all of who you are, so that as you're doing that, you can begin to see the whole child in all of what they may be bringing to, and to be sensitive to that. And when we say that, you know, that this is a great responsibility, it is a very highly intellectual endeavor, but it is it's hard work. And so, you know, we believe that this profession is sacred. We work with our future, and inheriting the earth is not an easy task, and we must be prepared to prepare them for that. And as we've seen over the last couple months, there is a lot of work to be done. So, you can expect in this upcoming year for Foundations Year, anti-Blackness is a conversation that we've been having and that we will continue to have. It's not just about white supremacy and privilege, but it's specifically about anti-Blackness in this moment. And so we will sit in those conversations, and they will be difficult because depending on where we're at, we all come from different experiences with that, but it's a real conversation and one that our future depends on us having and being real about. So that's a little bit about Foundation Seminar. Thank you all, UTEPers, for participating. I love you all.
Thank you so much, Kay, and everyone for that. I think you guys really, I feel like you told the Foundation's experience. And so next up becomes this kind of in year 2. So Foundations is laying the foundation for that self-work and community work. And then year 2 is the placement year. So Julie is going to talk about residency.
Okay, so before I get started, I feel like I just need to say, like Kay and some of the other folks on this call, I am a mom, and so you may see my child peeking in and out. So we'll hope for the best. We'll see what happens. So in our second year of the program, this is our residency year, students will have 2 clinical placements. So that fall placement, you will be in a classroom with a teacher, an experienced teacher who will guide you through what it looks like to begin a classroom. So we have you coming in before the students. That way you and your clinical instructor or your supervising teacher have an opportunity to really jive and be on the same page about what this classroom will look like. You will be introducing yourselves to the kids at the same time. You will see what it looks like to set up routines, procedures, and structures inside of a classroom. In your spring placement, while you are coming in the middle of the school year, it really gives you an opportunity to flex that classroom management muscle and to see what it looks like to wind down a school year. Sherry and I work together on the residency team, and we really work hard to match you with the right clinical instructor or supervising teacher. We want to make sure that your needs are being met. We try to get you into the grade level that you're looking for, into the specific content area that you're looking for. And Sherry and I, throughout that time, will be supervising you also. So while we're not in the classroom every single day, we are working with you and your clinical instructor to make sure that this is an optimal experience. You are learning everything hands-on. So basically, in addition to these 2 clinical placements, so you'll be in your placement on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. You'll start the day with your clinical instructor. You'll end the day with your clinical instructor. On Wednesday, me and Sherry are pulling you into class to administer your practicum class and your teaching and learning class. Everything that you're learning in those classes, you will be able to apply in your placement. So everything that we're doing should feel absolutely relevant. We are going to be doing a lot of different readings. One of the big ones that we did this year was Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. And we just feel like everything that we are reading about should not just be a theory. It should not be something that somebody else is telling you. It should be something that you are able to immediately apply in a classroom under your clinical instructor's supervision and guidance. There is support all along the way, and we are also offering a ton of feedback. This program is known for feedback. We really want you to walk away feeling like you know what is going on. In addition to your practicum class and your teaching and learning, we also offer a social studies methods class, and you are also getting an ESL bilingual class. That bilingual class, I think we are offering, and please, Tanisha, Diane, please step in to clarify, but I believe that there are several parts that are needed to have this endorsement, and we are offering I believe it's 2 out of 6 of those parts. Michelle, if you don't mind, anyone who knows for sure.
Yeah, for the ESL endorsement?
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll be 3 out of the 6 classes you'll need to get that endorsement.
Perfect. So what we are trying to do is get you most of the way there, so that is something additional that you have under your belt that can be offered when you are looking for a job in the field. So that's just kind of a quick overview. Please, those of you who have completed your residency year, please feel free to add anything that you would like to add about what this residency year looks like.
Julie, can I add something really quickly?
Of course.
The other thing I wanted to say that's really nice about the idea of the clinical instructor too is that a lot of times what happens is that former graduates become the clinical instructor as well. So that once you graduate, you've been teaching for a while, you can then take on the role as a clinical instructor yourself. And so that there's this nice sort of alumni, I guess you could say, full circle type of thing that happens, but also then you get to be with someone who has a very similar philosophy and understanding of the program.
Thank you for that, Margaret. Would anyone else like to jump in? I'm thinking about Michelle, I'm thinking about John, who have experienced residency year. Anything that you would like to share about the year?
Yeah, I can definitely provide some personal experience here. So I just finished my residency year. I had 2 really different placements, which was really important to me, just because there's so many different roles that you'll be able to take in terms of your first year of teaching, because it's depending on your middle school endorsements, you'll essentially be certified to teach 1 through 8, which is obviously a very broad range. So my first placement was 7th and 8th grade math, and my second placement was 3rd and 4th grade, called a self-contained classroom, which is where you teach all the subjects. They were also in different parts of the city, different demographics, and my 2 clinical instructors were very different from each other as well. And so that just really allowed me to gain a ton from that year as a whole. It allowed me to really narrow down what I needed to prioritize for myself when job searching, just recognizing that you're not going to find a school that ticks every single one of your boxes when it comes to that best school for you for the first year. And so it was important for me to understand what is essential and what's going to be top of that list. And residency year really helped me do that. It also, you just have some times that are really hard, and you are really exposed to the challenges of teaching. I had some really, really tough days, which were also important for me to be able to go into next year with eyes wider open, to be able to wrestle through that, to reach out for support, to understand how to be able to move through those periods of just self-doubt, of feeling just challenged. And yeah, so overall, it was, obviously an important year. You're really learning by doing. And like Julie said, you're in the classroom, and everything you're learning, you're thinking about your own classroom, and you're thinking about individual students and how what you're learning at UChicago is going to impact them, and what you can then apply the next day when you're there.
Thank you so much, Michelle. John, did you want to add anything?
Sure. My experience is very similar to Michelle's. My placements I had 2 placements that were very, very different. I taught in a 2nd grade gifted classroom, was self-contained, and then my second placement, I was teaching math for 5th through 8th grades. Very different. I would say residency is kind of like a magic school bus experience where, the teacher gets to shrink the bus, and you get to sort of like fly into the mind of the teacher. And in a sense, you're, maybe the first few weeks, you're not really doing anything except observing what's happening in the classroom. And it's an opportunity to really, really study the teacher, study maneuvers, study the thinking, the philosophy, strategies, how that teacher is relating to each student, how that teacher is building a community of learning. It's an opportunity for you to study a teacher in all of their glory. and then all of their flaws as well, before you even dive into your part to play in it. So I think it's a great opportunity to do that. And then also, one of the things we don't like to talk about when we talk about teaching and schooling is the politics of a school. Like, what happens in the school? Who are the formal powers? Who are the informal power circles? You get to learn who the stakeholders are in that school. Who are the parents? Who are the community organizations? Who are the principals? And then who are the students as well? I think it's an opportunity to see firsthand just how your role as a teacher fits into all of that melee. But it's a great opportunity. And then it's also an opportunity to build relationships with other teachers and administrators, because at the end of the day, you're going to want to find a job at the end of your program. And it's a great way to network and to sort of establish yourself in that space, if that school you deem as a good fit for you. So definitely take advantage of the relationship building.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate you sharing that. And I think I'll just close this portion out by saying that this is definitely a multifaceted experience, and it is extremely challenging at times, but we really do believe that through the residency year, we are positioning you well to be successful in a Chicago school.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Julie. And so next, so after year 2, there's graduation. And so Michelle just graduated and will be starting her first year of teaching. And so Margaret's going to describe kind of this postgraduate support.
Hello, I'm Margaret Pilot Chieni again, and I am one of the induction coaches along with Tanya and Woody, who are not on this call. But I also wanted to say, just kind of going back, I'm also cohort 1 graduate, so that also kind of shows you just, again, what I was talking about, how UTEP is really one of these programs where you can kind of still stay connected, and we also have Janet Granados, the bilingual ESL and literacy methods teacher, who is also a graduate of the program. So the postgraduate support is really where once you graduate, this is really where I think our program is different than other teaching programs, in that you get support after you graduate. So your first year, you'll have someone come into your classroom weekly and observe you. And it's not, you're not evaluative, we're not grading you, it's really just a support. We work on goals, we work on things that you need help with. Maybe your administrator said something that you need to work on. So we're just another support system. And this is where I feel that retention rate really, like the piece about why we have teachers staying in the classroom is because you do get that support in the classroom. And it starts in the summer after you graduate. We hold summer office hours so that we can help you plan and set up and get ready to be teaching in that fall in the classroom. And then, over as you sort of progress, the coach, we scaffold it so that your second year you get maybe, every other week. And the third year is even more flexible, maybe more action research, things like that. But really, we try to differentiate and individualize the coaching to support you and where you are and what you need, and really make your first year successful. And then we also hold collaboratives where across the cohort you can meet with other members. So say, for example, John is cohort 14. He may meet with cohort 15 and cohort 16 teachers, and we can all talk about things and share strategies. And then there is also just different levels of alumni support and ways that alumni can support each other throughout the process. We have a lot of people, like I said, are clinical instructors now, and also a lot of alumni interested in leading PD to develop the newer teachers and things like that. So that's really something that we pride ourselves on, is the postgraduate support, because this is where you are, you're in the thick of it. This is where you're applying all that you've learned in real time with real students. You are the one in control, and now you have just another support. We can videotape. We can help you lesson plan. We just take observation notes and discuss it. I mean, there's so many different ways that coaching can support you, and it's really a unique opportunity. And even just being a thought partner, or just someone to just say, like, I had a really hard day. Can I just cry with you? And yeah, sure. So that's really, I would say, kind of the induction coaching in a nutshell.
Yeah, I was going to ask if John could talk a little bit about coaching, your experience with coaching those first couple of years.
Coaching is, I would say that it's a very rare thing. So just sharing sort of like some of our teaching experiences, like, among my cohort, but my colleagues, many of them came from teaching programs where they were just thrown into the classroom and, Godspeed, and that was it. And they struggled. I think having someone who is not only your advocate and your support, but someone who is who's going to be a sounding board for you as you talk through all of your crazy ideas and you talk through all of your frustrations and your anxieties. It's good to have someone who's in your corner, especially that first year, which is the most difficult year because you're learning everything all at once, and the learning curve is so steep. It's good to have someone there who's supporting you, who is helping you organize your thinking, and who's giving you a sense of focus. So I would say for my first year as a teacher, one of the things that coaching did for me was it gave me a sense of like what I needed to focus on that year, like understanding that this is a calling, I'm in it for the long haul. So I can take my time and focus on what I wanted to perfect. And the first year, I primarily focused on my classroom management. And the reason why my coach and I decided to focus on classroom management is because that's not really something that you're going to learn in any teaching program, because classroom management is as unique as a fingerprint. It's going to be your style. It's going to be coming out of your personality, your experiences. And so I had to learn who I was as a teacher and how to manage my own classroom. So that's one of the things I focused on. And then I just finished my second year. I added another component to my practice. I continued my classroom management, and I felt like I further perfected that. I think Margaret can attest to that. Thank you, Margaret. And then
Are you
this
working
year,
on the bun still?
I'm still working on the bun. So, so this year I primarily focused on robust content. And of course, we had a crazy year with the teacher strike and then COVID. So it was the ideal sort of like a year to be practicing content, because then I had to transition from the classroom environment to the remote learning environment. And that's where sort of I got to see how content changes and how it's adapted in that particular space. And so it was a challenging year, but it was also a great opportunity to grow. And to have Margaret in my corner, who kept me from losing my mind, I am telling you, like having a coach who is willing to listen to and who you are also willing to listen to, I think it's priceless. It's priceless. So take full advantage of it.
Thank you. Okay, and so I'm looking at time. We are going to kind of turn it over to Diane now to kind of talk about our application process.
Yeah, we're going to go through this kind of quick because I know I want to have some time for you guys to ask some questions that you may have. So after hearing all of this, who we're looking for. So we're looking for all prospective student graduates. That includes recent grads, that include people that are mid-career professionals that's looking for a career change. We're looking for someone that know that this work is hard and know that this is what you want to do and know that this is the passion that you want to make a change in a child's life. So this is what we're looking for. You do not have to have an undergraduate degree to in education to apply to this program. We take anyone from all different disciplines. So what you need to do to apply to this program is to you apply from our website. Just go to our website and click on the apply button. We ask for you to it's not really a candidate statement. There are questions that you have to answer, about 6 of them that you have to answer in a real robust way. To answer those questions, we ask for every transcript that you have, every higher institution that you have attended. That's the transcripts that we would need, official transcripts. We want your resume. We look for 3 letters of recommendation. That could be from professors that you had, someone that really knows you, place of your employer. And there's a $50 application fee, but since you are attending this webinar information session, we will waive that fee for you. There's also, Tisha, can you go back? And so there's also, yeah, the application that you will complete online. Once that is been submitted, then if you are, you may be asked to go to the next phase of the application process, and that will be possibly a interview, a Skype or a Zoom as an interview that we're in now. Those of you too, just want to mention that may be still interested in applying to come to the fall 2020 cohort. We are still accepting applications for that. The application deadline the application has been reopened to August 1st. So those of you that are still interested, you still have time to apply. Also, we try to keep the cost manageable for you guys, and that is done by you filling out the FAFSA, your loans, work study. There's external grants and scholarships that are out there based on merit and need. And then there is also the teacher loan forgiveness program. Once you have finished the program, that is something that you could be also eligible for. So I'm pretty sure you guys have some questions that you may want to ask. So please, let's have them.
Hi, hope it's okay if I start off.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple of questions. How large is each cohort usually, or like, does it depend year to year? And within that, is each cohort all in like one classroom together during their first year? Are there different classes and different sections?
Yeah, so we definitely have a cohort model where all the cohort takes all the classes together during the first year and the second year as well. The cohort numbers, I would say, range between 20 and I think our largest class, John's class, was 33. That was our largest ever. Our current class we had now is 22. So I would say we kind of range in that, in that area. But the classes for next year are, they take the same sequence of classes all together. And the cohort is really meant to be a support system for each other. And so you guys are going through a shared experience. Cohorts really kind of stick together and become, it can really become kind of like, professionals that collaborate as well.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Thank you for that, Peter.
I have 2 quick questions, if you don't mind. One is the horrible one that I know nobody likes getting asked, but what do you anticipate kind of classes and work is going to look like in this fall? Do you anticipate kind of like a mixed model, or?
Yeah, that's a great question, Amelia. We are kind of still in the process of answering that. From the university's perspective, we definitely have been given the okay. And so we are we're anticipating that our fall session will be kind of a hybrid model where there'd be some parts of it that's in person and some that's online as well. Because of just the, the instability of just where we are, we know that things might, that might change kind of depending on what's going on in Chicago. So I guess the answer to that is we anticipate a hybrid model. We don't know yet how many sessions in person, because we're definitely trying to limit that as well, and provide an option where, because not everyone can do in person, kind of in this climate. We know that with everything's going on, everyone's not comfortable, being in person as well. And so we're trying to definitely figure out a schedule that can be flexible and kind of meet the needs of different. Okay.
Thank you. And then I had one more quick question, which is, so I'm not from Chicago or the surrounding area, and I know you guys put kind of like a big emphasis on that community engagement. So I was wondering if you have space in the program for people who are from outside of that community, and also if you've had people in the past who have kind of learned the skills with you all and then taken it back to like other high needs urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do. So Michelle, I don't know if you want to talk about your experience of coming to Chicago. Michelle was here a little bit earlier prior to coming to UTEP, but
Yeah, so I'm originally from California. So I grew up in Southern California, went to school in the Bay Area, and then I was actually working in corporate before moving into education. So I moved. I was working at LinkedIn, so I moved with them to Chicago. So like Dr. K said, I was here for maybe like 2 to 3 years before joining UTEP. So yeah, so I didn't grow up in Chicago. A lot of what I learned about Chicago in UTEP was brand new. And then I know that I'm going to go and teach in CPS. I know that there are others that have gone elsewhere to teach. But I would say that in terms of that process, a lot of what you're learning, yes, you're learning about specific history and context of Chicago, but a lot of what you're also learning are just ways to think about that process and ways to learn about the community that you're teaching in, especially thinking about Chicago. There are so many different communities and neighborhoods in the city. And so you need to do that process regardless of where you're teaching, and really do that work to understand the community and the history and the context that you're entering into. So it provides you the tools to be able to do that in whatever setting. But others can speak to different teachers that have gone to different places to teach.
And I want to add to that, there's been teachers, like I coached a teacher who taught in a Catholic school in Chicago. And so, I know that for the most part, people are in CPS, but there are other teachers that will sometimes go and teach in a Catholic school or in a charter school. And, as long as it's, that commitment, we will, honor that and coach them. But if you do leave and go to another city, one of the things that you do sort of forfeit is the coaching, because we just can't coach you if you don't live in Chicago. So, I mean, that's just something to kind of be aware of and keep in mind.
yeah, I just want to reiterate what Michelle was saying about we are context specific, because we imagine that you're coming to here because you love Chicago, you want to invest here for a little, for the time that you're here. And so we want to be able to prepare you for this place. But again, the tools that we're developing in terms of the process of understanding community is really what you walk away with. And we would hope that wherever you go, that you would be doing the exact same things to get to know the community, to get to know the history, to get to know the people, to build relationships. All of those things can be applied anywhere you go. And should.
Thanks so much for that question. Other questions as we kind of wrap up. I definitely thank you and thank everyone for kind of tuning in. Thanks to the panel for sharing your experience, and definitely our graduates and students, where I think that personal experience is so, I know for me, just to hear it, I definitely thank you for sharing that. If as we wrap up now, if there, if later on there's questions, definitely feel free to contact us. Um, there's information on our website that might have answers to some questions, and you can always email as well. I was gonna say call, but I forgot we're not in the office anymore, so those numbers are not working now. But email is best.
If they email that recruit email address, that I would get that.
That goes directly.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed meeting you and kind of sharing about us, and I think we're gonna wrap up.